There again, Mike Henderson here with part 4 of how to use Novel Factory to write a novel. Alright, I'm back to my story, and I'm going to expand my acts. I have filled in my 3 acts. And this is just a brief summary so I can sort of follow what I have planned to do and keep track of what's going on. Now, this can change. You can change this anytime you want. None of this is written in stone. So as you're going through the story, it's good to brainstorm this and come up with, okay, I think this is how it's going to go. Because when I do it, I usually have an idea of how it starts. I kind of have an idea of what happens in the middle. And I have an idea of how I want it to end. But I don't necessarily know everything that's going on. So I may fill in some of these in more or less detail, and maybe just a note something happens here, or whatever. So I have this filled in. Okay. As kind of a reference. Now, the next step, if we look at our roadmap, is the character introductions. So this is where you sort of put together who your characters are. Well, this is really not even a short story. It's flash fiction. It's only 1,000 words long or something like that. So this is where, So this is where characters come in. You go to characters. His name is James Lane, and you expand this. And you enter this data gets entered in a page that hopefully will come up. And so here's his introduction. His name is James Lane. He's an interstellar truck driver with a philosophical bent who likes funny TV shows. Okay. Whatever. So then you can put basic information, his gender, what's he look like, his hair color, his traits, his motivation. There's a fairly detailed questionnaire, height, weight, skin, hands, blah, blah, blah. Viewpoint synopsis. So what do they mean by that? For example, you click on the little question mark and it comes up. Inside the skin of your characters, discover if there are any impossibilities, being 2 places at once, and whatever. So read this. In any case, this helps you... I don't know why I did that. This helps you learn about your characters, character history, notes. You can put a photograph. I usually do relatively little planning about the character. I come up with a name. I get an idea. Sometimes it's helpful to go through and just figure out what he looks like. I have a little bit of backstory, but I don't really go too much trouble about it, and it develops as I go. So we're going to go back to the planning, and the next thing I want to know is, in my little spreadsheet, is short synopsis. So what does that do? Well, that is where you brainstorm. It's kind of a basic outline of your story. So you've got the premise. What's a short synopsis? How long should it be? For example, they tell you in here somewhere it should be about 500 words. And that is, here it is. So it says, how long should it be? The short synopsis should be about a page long. So what are you doing? You are starting with your premise. You sort of flesh out what you think is going to happen in the 3 acts. And then you write a short synopsis wherein you sort of take the 3 acts and you write a paragraph about each little thing that is going to happen. Now this is very similar to this system called the snowflake method, where you start small and build up. And this is very helpful because it helps you sort of work through what's going to happen and you can see any issues that might develop in your story as you go. So I have this premise. The space truck driver must save himself when his hyperspace engine fails millions of light years from the nearest planet, as robot companions trying to kill him. Okay, so James is sitting in the cockpit of his transport ship, laughing at an old TV show, and he's talking to his only companion on the trip, a robot. That's all I have to say. Now, this can be vastly expanded because then you put in where they are, what does it look like, what is the light, what sounds does he hear. He laughs and then he says something, so there's some dialogue, and he and the robot are discussing it and so forth. And then something happens. So the ship slows to sublight. The ship jerks, and the computer alerts him that the hyperlight drive has failed. This science fiction, of course, we're going through space, and if we're not going maybe millions of times the speed of light, we're not going to get anywhere. The robot informs them that they're middle of some sector and approximately umpteen thousand light years from the nearest civilized planet. Okay, you see, that's kind of a summary. It's not a very formal description. The robot performs diagnostics and determines that a part needs to be replaced and that they have one. Tries to find it, but he can't. And then he's thinking about, he could die of starvation in the middle of a great void. But maybe that's okay. There's a lot of shit to deal with, and sitting out here and rotting might be a good way to escape it. He finally finds the part. And when I'm doing this, I'm just sitting here kind of brainstorming. And you can see these are just kind of summaries. Okay, he finds the part. He's thinking about some stuff. But he's got to do a spacewalk. And he tries to get back in a robot. The robot doesn't want to let him back in. So in any case, we go through this. And so it goes through all of his issues. He goes out and he does it. There's got to be, he basically starts out doing what he's doing. There's a problem. The ship doesn't work. Now there's conflict. He's got to go out. He doesn't want to go out, by the way, so we talk about that later. Then the robot doesn't want to let him in. And he finally figures out a way to get back in. And he goes back to doing what he's doing. And actually what happens is he's got to go back out and fix it again, and he has a robot go do it. And as soon as the robot's outside, he figures out that it works anyway. The robot was lying. And he kicks it into light speed to try to get rid of the robot. And he goes back to watching his television show, and then the robot, he sees the robot outside the window. And that's how it ends. So it's kind of a twist to it. It's almost Twilight Zone type of ending. So we're going to stop there. That is basically a short synopsis. You come up, this says it's 347 words. You just and this is only a short thing, but so a short bit of writing. But this could be expanded, into a novel. So it's 347 words, and that is the short synopsis. So now you basically have an idea of what is going to happen in the story. And you take it from there. So we'll deal with that the next time. Take it easy.